Hi kids, welcome to the topic of simple interest. Let's see what simple interest means first of all. Suppose Sachin and his brother Rohit went on a vacation with their parents. But it was raining all weekend and hence they couldn't go out and visit places. They had to stay inside their hotel room. So they decided to play with toys. But Rohit didn't bring any toys with him, thinking he wouldn't need them. But Sachin is wise and brought all his 6 toys with him. Upon Rohit's request, Sachin gave 3 of his toys to Rohit to play. So, yes, since Sachin is giving, he is the giver, and Rohit is receiving, he is the receiver. But Sachin gave his toys to Rohit on one condition, that when they return home, Rohit will give back 6 toys instead of 3. Back home, Rohit has 9 toys of his own. 3 he got from Sachin while on vacation. So he has total of 12 toys. And Sachin has only 3 toys left. Rohit has to give 6 toys back to Sachin according to the condition. So he does that. Sachin has 9 toys now. Rohit is left with 6. Rohit had to give 3 toys which he originally took from Sachin. So original toys. Plus he had to return 3 extra toys. So, what is the lesson in this story? Obviously, you must carry your necessary stuff when you go somewhere. You never know when you might need it. But a bigger lesson here is that when a giver gives something, the receiver must return something extra. In this case, that extra was toys. Rohit had to return 3 extra toys. Now, same thing happens with money. If a giver gives 1200 rupees to a receiver, then the receiver must return this 1200, but he also has to return something extra. By the way, giver is usually called lender because he lends or gives money, and receiver is usually called borrower because he borrows or receives money. However, there is a difference between giver and lender, receiver and borrower. Giver just gives. He does not expect anything in return, but lender expects something in return. Similarly, receiver does not have to give anything in return, whereas the borrower has to return. And hence, they are called lender and borrower. And what does the borrower have to return? Original plus something extra. Why extra? Because if the lender doesn't get that extra, he does not have any incentive to lend money. And because of this extra, borrower avoids to take or borrow money. And what does incentive mean? You know what it means. You, maybe, don't know this word. Incentive means motivation. For example, when your mom tells you to study continuously for 3 hours, only then you will get an ice cream, even though you don't want to study. Or when your dad asks you to clean his car, only then you will get 100 rupees, even when you don't want to clean. Then, why do you do those things? Because you are not interested in studying or cleaning, you are interested in ice cream and 100 bucks. Those are your incentives, your motivation, your interests. So, even if the borrower pays back all the amount, even then, there is no incentive because lender gave 1200, he got 1200 back. Or the borrower got 1200, he gave the same amount back. So, what is the lender's gain? Or why would the borrower avoid to borrow? They do so because of the extra money that is involved. But how much is that extra money? How do we calculate that? That we will learn in this topic. Let's try to understand this through 3 situations. Suppose Sachin gave 1200 rupees to Rohit and Rohit has to return this amount in 1 year. Or he gives 2000 rupees again for 1 year. Or, third situation, he gives 1200 rupees. But now Rohit has to return in 2 years and not one. In all these situations, Rohit has to obviously return something extra along with the original amount. We don't know how much extra. But what do you think? Will that extra money be same in all these 3 cases? Use your common sense. Actually, no, it will not be the same. Why? Because in the first 2 cases, returning time is same, but amount lent is different. In the third case, amount is 1200, but returning time has increased. So obviously this extra shouldn't be same in all the cases. If you give more, you will receive more. And if you give for more time, again you will receive more. But we don't know how much is that extra money. You must have a rule to find that. Otherwise some lender might ask for more extra money, which is not fair. So yes, there is a rule. And it is very simple. The lender sets a percentage which borrower also agrees to. And that extra money is calculated using this percentage on the original amount. So, first case, 1200 into 10 by 100. Or second case, 2000 into 10 by 100. Similarly for the third case. So, we get the extra money to be returned. 120, 200, 120. Again in the third case. So, you see that more amount, 2000, so some extra money. But is it still fair? In the third case, the lender gets this money back in more time, 2 years, and he still gets the same 120 as in the first case. No, it's not fair. It's not fair because we have not considered the time in the calculation. Only the percentage and the original amount. So, what do? Simple. Consider time too. Simply multiply by time. So, into 1 in the first and the second case, and into 2 in the third case. Now, it is fair. More original amount in second case, meaning more money than first. Or more time in third case, meaning more money than first. So, multiply by 1 in the calculation too. And you can see that in the third case, even the original amount 1200 is less than 2000 in second case, but the extra amount is more. 240 is greater than 200. It means that sometimes when you lend for more time, you might get more extra money. That is how lenders think, and borrowers try to return as soon as possible. Let's look at the first case. This 1200, the original amount is called the principal, P. The spelling is with PAL, not PLE. The percent written at the top, 10%, is called the rate of interest. And time is written as T. So, P into R into T upon 100. Same as with the other 2 cases. This is how we calculate the extra money, and this extra money is called the interest. And that was all about the extra money. It is actually called simple interest or SI. Why simple? Because there is something called compound interest, which you will learn later. And the formula to calculate SI is P principal into R rate into T time upon 100. PRT upon 100. And it is not some formula. It is the percent of original multiplied by time. But this is the extra money that has to be returned. What is the total money that must be returned? Obviously, the original principal must be returned too. So, that should be added to the extra. This total money to be returned is called amount, written as A. So P plus PRT by 100. So in the first case, original is 1200. Hence total money or amount to be returned is 1200 plus 120, 1320. Second case, 2000 plus 200, 2200. And third case, 240 plus 1200, 1440. This rate is for every year. Hence it is called per annum. To understand this, let's look at the third case, where time is 2 years. For 1 year, the interest is 1200 into 10 by 100 into 1, 120. For the second year, again it is the same, 120. And the total is 240 for 2 years. Since it is calculated every year, hence it is per annum. And you can see that 240 is simply 2 into 120. And that is why to calculate for more years, instead of calculating separately for each year, we just multiply by the number of years. It is one and the same thing. It gives the same answer. But is it always in years? Lender can ask for return, or borrower can promise to pay back any time, even in months. So, suppose in this case he has to return in 1 year and 4 months, how do we calculate the interest then? Actually, since the rate is per annum, per year, we must convert this time into years. So we have to convert 4 months into years. Unitary method. 12 months is 1 year. So 4 months is 1 by 12 into 4. 4 by 12. That is 1 by 3 years. So 1 year 4 months equals 1 plus 1 by 3 years, which is 4 by 3 years. Now interest is principal 1200 into rate 10 into time, which is 4 by 3 years now, upon 100. This is equal to 160. So we should write 160 at the top, below 1 year and 4 months. You must notice that since 1 year 4 months is more than 1 year, its interest value 160 is also more than 120. And since it is less than 2 years, so is its interest value less than 240. Alright, that was the complete concept of simple interest. Now, let us take some examples. You will mainly solve 4 kinds of problems, in which you have to find simple interest, in which you have to find the total amount or the principal. Third, in which you will have to find the rate. And fourth, you have to find time. Let's take them one by one. Example 1. I want to buy a TV whose cost is 50,000 rupees, but I don't have it right now. So, the shopkeeper tells me that I can give 20,000 right now and give the rest 30,000 in 1 year. But there is that condition again. What is the condition? That I will have to give something extra, some interest. I have to calculate what that extra is. He sets the rate at 10% per annum. How do we calculate? That extra or simple interest, SI, is P, 30,000, into R, 10, into T, 1, upon 100. So, 3,000. And how much will I pay at the end of the year? Original 30,000 plus the interest 3,000. Total 33,000. So, the total amount that I pay for the TV is 20,000, which I paid right away, plus 33,000. 53,000 total. The amount paid right away is called paid upfront or down payment. Now, instead of paying such a big amount of 33,000 at the end of the year, the shopkeeper gives me an option to pay equal amount every month. What do I pay? So extra 3,000 upon 12, 250, right? Wrong. That is only the extra. I also have to pay the original. So total that I have to pay 33,000, will be divided into equal parts of 12. 2750 rupees. And this is what is called EMI. Easy Monthly Installments. You must have heard the word EMI a lot. Easy because it is easier to pay, 2750, than to pay 33,000 in one go. Monthly because I have to pay every month. And installment meaning parts. So I can pay easily every month in parts. But remember, I end up paying more. Instead of 50,000, I pay 53,000. And why do I take the deal? Because instead of paying 50,000 for the TV in one go, I pay only 20,000 in one go or upfront, and 2750 per month for the total of 12 months. This amount becomes my EMI. But EMIs are usually not calculated on simple interest, rather on compound interest, which you will learn later on. Alright, next example. 2. Sachin lends Rohit two different amounts, 1500 for 3 years and 2000 for 2 years, at the same rate, 5% per annum. What is his profit when he receives the money back? What is his profit percentage? So, interest in first case is PRT, 1500 into 5 into 3 upon 100, 450. And in the second case is 2000, 5, 2, 200, 450 and 200. So the amount that he receives in first deal is principal plus interest, 1500 plus 450, 1950. And in the second deal, 2000 plus 200, 2200. So total amount that he receives is, add these two, 4150, and total interest, add these two, so 650. And how much did he give in total? 1500 plus 2000, 3500. Actually, 650 is the extra that he receives, which is his profit. But let's do it another way as well. Profit is total money that he got back minus total that he gave. So, 650, same as total interest, as it should be. So, profit percentage is profit 650 upon original, meaning what he gave, 3500 into 100, 18.57%. So, that is the profit percent. Next example. A shopkeeper tells me that to buy a mobile worth rupees 10,000, I can pay the amount in 1 year. But I don't want to pay more than 12,000. What rate should I negotiate with him? Meaning, what rate should I agree to? Let's see. What is the extra, the simple interest that I am giving? Total amount minus principal, 12,000 minus 10,000, 2,000. So, I have to calculate the rate now. We know that SI, that is 2,000, is equal to PRT, 10,000, into R, which we have to find, into 1. Time is 1 year, upon 100. This reduces to 2,000 is equal to 100 into R. Hence R is equal to 20. So, rate that I should agree upon is 20%. Next example. Now, if I cannot pay back in 1 year, but I am ready to pay a higher amount, say 16,000, but not more than that, how much time should I agree to? After how many years should I pay so that my total amount does not exceed 16,000? Here we have to find time. Interest is total that I have to pay back, 16,000 minus principal, 10,000, 6,000. So, 6,000 is equal to PRT by 100. 10,000 into 20 into time. T upon 100. This reduces to T equal to 6,000 by 2,000. 3. This means that if I have to buy the mobile at not more than 16,000 at a rate of 20%, I must pay the amount back within 3 years. But it cost me more than original 16,000, obviously. Until now, you have seen examples in which rate of interest was per annum. But what if the rate is per half year? Half yearly. It means that the lender will calculate the interest every 6 months, half year. Let's take an example. Example 5. In this example, what is the interest at the end of one half year? That is 6 months. Simple. Calculate as before. P into R into T upon 100. 120. We have to put T as 1 because we have to calculate the interest after one half year. Do not make the mistake of putting half year as 1 by 2. It will be wrong. And what if the rate is half yearly but interest is calculated for 1 year? Simple. 1 year has 2 half years. So let's calculate for both of them. First half, PRT by 100. 120. Second half, also 120. Total, 240. Or 120 into 2. So, since 1 year has 2 half years, T is equal to 2. And in PRT, we can put T as 2, which means 1200 into 10 into 2 by 100. 240. Same answer. So either calculate for different halves or calculate in one go. But you will have to put the number of half years in 1 year. That is 2. If we have to calculate the interest for 2 years in this case, how do we find? 2 years has 4 half years. 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. So, interest for 2 years, put time as 4. PRT by 100. 480. So, you can see that with same rate per annum, the interest for 1 year is 120 and for half yearly rate, interest for 1 year is 240. Double. And it should be. This is the interest for 1 year. What if the rate is quarterly? Quarterly means a period of 3 months. T year will be 4 because 1 year has 4 quarters. So, interest for 1 year will be into 4. So, this is how you calculate interest when rate is not per annum. And when we compare side by side, for same principal amount and rate of interest, interest is calculated the same way in all 3 cases. 1200 into rate, 10 by 100 into 1. But in the first case, this 1 is 1 year, since the rate is per annum. Second case, rate is half yearly, so this 1 is 1 half year. And here, the rate is quarterly, so this 1 means 1 quarter. Interest is same, 120 in each. And this means what? This means that in per annum, the interest calculated is per year. So borrower will return 120 as interest in 1 year. In second case, he will have to pay 120 in 1 half year or 6 months. And in 1 complete year, he will have to pay double, 240. Quarterly, he has to pay 120 in just 3 months, which means 480 in 1 year. So you can see that per annum is so important. You must look for that in the question, whether the rate is per annum or not. Because when rate is not per annum, it is for the less period, half year or quarter, the interest to be paid is more. Let's look at one last example. Suppose I borrow 1200 rupees from a friend and he asks me to return in 2 years, but I can only return in 2.5 years. He agrees to it, but he says that he will keep the rate 10% per annum for the first 2 years and for the last year 20%. So, in this example, rate is per annum, but it is changing. How much interest do I have to pay? Very simple. Calculate separately. So, for 2 years, PRT by 100, 240. And for the last half year, rate is 20%. So, 1200 into 20 into 1 by 2 upon 100, 120. So, total interest is 360. Alright, so let's summarize now. What have we learned in this topic? We have learned 4 things in this chapter. It is very important, so pay attention. First, when a lender lends a borrower some money, the borrower must return that money plus some extra money. This extra money is simple interest, and it is calculated using rate of interest R in percentage of the original money, which is the principal P, and multiplied by the time T, for which the interest is calculated. P into R into T upon 100, and total amount is principal plus SI. Second, we learned that we can get 4 kinds of questions in which we have to calculate SI, principal or amount, rate or time. Third, we saw that usually rate of interest is per annum, but if it is not, it is either half yearly or quarterly. Time T is equal to number of half years or quarters in 1 year, if we want to calculate the interest for 1 year, and time T is equal to 1 if we want to calculate the interest for 1 time period, either half year or quarter. Remember kids, that rates can also be monthly, 2 monthly, 4 monthly, anything. Concept of calculating interest will remain the same. And last and the fourth thing that we learned was that if there are different rates of interest for different amounts or for different time periods, we have to calculate the interest separately and add them to get the total interest. Alright kids, so that completes the topic and the chapter. Bye bye.